Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, far back, to a world where cleanliness wasn't just a personal choice, it was practically a societal obsession. Picture this. You walk into a grand Roman bathhouse. The stone floors cool beneath your feet, the hum of water splashing from pools that stretch as far as the eye can see. There's a faint smell of heated stone, steam rising from large pools, and the murmur of voices all around. The warmth wraps around you like a blanket. It's all rather comforting. But here's the thing, if you were a Roman, you wouldn't just be here for a quick rinse. You'd be in for the full experience, a leisurely routine that stretched out into hours. This was the height of luxury. And, well, the Romans used baths to help them sleep better. Let's see how this ancient tradition might just have some lessons for us. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where are you tuning in from tonight? And what time is it over there? I'd love to know. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The Roman bathhouse was a masterpiece of ancient engineering, but more than that, it was a place where Romans went to relax, unwind, and sleep better. You may be thinking, why would a bath help with sleep? Well, back in those days, the Romans knew the power of routine, temperature, and soothing rituals, all designed to help with relaxation and stress relief. But what you probably don't realize is just how integral baths were to Roman daily life. They weren't just places for hygiene. They were spaces of social interaction, relaxation, and, as we'll see, essential to both physical and mental well-being. So let's dive into the bathhouse, take a look around, and discover why this was such a pivotal part of Roman life, and how it might just hold the secret to better sleep, even today. Now, imagine entering a bathhouse, the thermae, as the Romans called it. This wasn't just a simple place to get clean. Oh no, this was an entire experience. First, you would enter into the appetiterium, the changing room where you'd leave your clothes behind. The room itself was spacious, with high ceilings, large columns, and benches around the walls for people to sit and undress. The air would be warm, heavy with the scent of perfumes and oils, much more inviting than your average locker room. As you walk further in, the ambient heat would slowly start to relax you, preparing your body for what's next. But the thing is, this wasn't just a bath in the way we think of it today. You didn't just hop in, scrub off, and jump out. No, this was more of a ritual, a series of steps designed to relax and purify you, both physically and mentally. The process was something that took hours, so it wasn't the quick and casual dip that we're used to. Imagine having all the time in the world to let your body soften, your mind drift, and your muscles unwind. Could you fall asleep faster after a day spent in such luxury? The Romans certainly thought so. The first part of your visit would involve spending time in the tepidarium, the warm room, where the heat slowly began to open your pores and relax your muscles. This room wasn't steamy or intense, but it was the perfect introduction to the bathhouse experience. The temperature was just warm enough to make you feel comfortable, but not so hot that it would tire you out too quickly. Picture yourself settling down in the warmth, letting the tension of your day start to melt away. Historians still argue whether the Romans realized it, but by starting with a warm room, they were setting the body up for a calming progression. And let's be honest, if they didn't know it scientifically, they certainly felt the benefits in their bodies. The warmth helped relax your muscles, which in turn would help with sleep. But it didn't stop there. Next, you'd enter the caldarium, the hot room. The caldarium was a room filled with intense heat, so hot that the air almost pressed against your skin. It was a full-on sauna experience, and just like modern saunas, it would have induced a deep, cleansing sweat. The Romans were very focused on purifying the body, but this wasn't all about hygiene. The heat helped open up the pores even more and pushed out toxins. It was a method of detoxification, but also an opportunity for the body to release built-up stress. The heat would penetrate your muscles, leaving you feeling loose, relaxed, and ready for the final phase, the cool down. This was where it got interesting. After sweating out the heat in the caldarium, Romans would then head to the frigidarium, the cold room. You can imagine the shock to the system as you plunged into cool water after all that warmth. It was a shock to the senses, but that's exactly the point. The cold water helped close the pores and re-energize the body, while also stimulating blood flow. It gave the body a chance to reset, which left you feeling refreshed and ready to sleep. But there's more. The Romans didn't just stop there. They also used massage as part of their bathing routine. You'd receive a strigal massage, where a tool was used to scrape off sweat and dirt, while a servant might also provide a gentle rub-down. This was done with oils, and the relaxing sensation of the massage would put you into a calmer state. So after the heat, the cold, and the massage, you were basically primed for a peaceful night's sleep. The Romans knew the importance of relaxation and rest, and their bathhouses were specifically designed to help you achieve both. But let's slow down for a moment and think about the real reason the bathhouse worked so well as a sleep aid. Was it simply the heat and cold that helped with sleep, or was there something else at play here? Perhaps it was the process itself, a ritualistic, calming routine that allowed the mind to unwind after a day of stress. There's something about a structured routine, isn't there? Something about following steps that relaxes the body and puts the mind at ease. That's the secret, and maybe it's something we could all use more of in our own lives, especially as we try to wind down at the end of a long day. As the Roman day would begin to wind down, you'd likely feel a subtle shift in the air around you, a change from the bustling, active hours of the morning and afternoon to a slower pace, one that beckons rest. You'd probably be well aware of how your body is beginning to feel different, relaxed, almost heavy in a way that's hard to ignore. This wasn't just your average, everyday relaxation. No, it was the result of hours spent in the bathhouse, allowing your body to follow a series of carefully crafted steps that led to the ultimate goal: sleep. You'd be heading toward the last leg of your day, and just like those Romans, you'd probably be feeling a sense of peace and tranquility wash over you. Let's take a quick look at how a typical Roman day played out, from morning till evening. While most of us wake up to a buzzing alarm, the Romans had their own rhythm to the day that was tied deeply to the natural world. There were no clocks or time zones, but the rising and setting of the sun dictated their schedule, and their day was divided into segments that mirrored the cycle of the sun. The start of the day wasn't with a hasty grab for your phone, but with a more serene, ritualistic approach. It began with the prima luce, the first light of dawn, when Romans would rise, freshen up, and prepare for a day of work or leisure. After a simple breakfast, they would get down to business, whether it be political affairs, farming, or trade. But as the day progressed, their bodies would start to need something more than just food to carry them through. And that's where the bathhouse came in. By mid-afternoon, most Romans would head toward the public bathhouses, often with the intention of socializing and unwinding before heading back to their homes. The bathhouses, like I said, weren't just about cleanliness. They were about relaxing, taking time to chat with friends, meet new people, or even do business. It was the original form of networking, and not just for the wealthy. If you were a Roman citizen, the bathhouse was a public good, and it was a way to level the playing field. In fact, it wasn't unusual to see politicians or military leaders relaxing in the same space as common folk. Everyone, from the elite to the plebeians, could share a space in the bath, making it the center of Roman social life. And then, of course, there was the time spent winding down from the baths. After being thoroughly scrubbed and massaged, your body would be sent into a state of relaxed readiness for sleep. Imagine it, your skin glowing, muscles unwound, every part of you softened by the warm and cold water, and your mind calm from the soothing rituals of the bath. This is what Roman society relied on to sleep better, an entire routine designed to guide your body through a process of relaxation, helping ease you into rest. But just how integral were these baths to the Roman experience of sleep? Well, there's a reason we still see echoes of this practice in modern spas and wellness rituals today. Many cultures throughout history have understood the importance of the body's relaxation before sleep. Historians argue whether the Romans were the first to truly recognize the sleep benefits of such routines. But one thing is clear: the bathhouse was central to their culture in a way we might only now be starting to fully understand. Think of it this way. Today, we might have hot tubs, saunas, or spas that promise relaxation and a good night's sleep. The Romans had their thermi, but the goal was the same: to use the relaxing powers of heat and cold, coupled with soothing rituals, to create the perfect atmosphere for sleep. So, when you're in a bath today, you might just be following in the footsteps of Romans, just without the strigils or the marble floors. And yet, as much as baths were essential to the Romans, they weren't the only part of the Romans' day designed for relaxation. Their meals, too, played a big role in how they approached rest. While we think of the evening meal as a time to wind down and settle in for the night, for the Romans, the scene at dinner was often a long, drawn-out event, one that could include multiple courses, wine, and lively conversation. It was a time for relaxation, much like our modern evenings spent at dinner tables or in front of a television. And like the bath, it was all about creating an atmosphere of ease and contentment before heading off to bed. But we're not quite there yet. The bathhouse experience wasn't just about getting clean or socializing. It was about hitting that sweet spot of relaxation that the Romans knew they needed in order to sleep soundly. When historians examine the importance of the Roman bath, they often point to the intricate systems used to maintain the baths, the aqueducts that brought in fresh water, the hypocausts that heated the floors, and the carefully designed chambers that created just the right atmosphere for relaxation. Some argue that without these innovations, Roman sleep practices might not have been as effective. Others claim that it was more about the rituals themselves, the culture that surrounded the bath, that made it so important. Either way, one thing is certain. The Romans knew how to sleep better, and they weren't shy about sharing their secrets. Historians still argue whether the Romans truly understood the science behind sleep hygiene, or if they simply stumbled upon it through trial and error. But perhaps that's not the point. The point is that they had a system, and it worked. And as we head toward the end of this section, it's important to remember that even today, we can take cues from ancient practices to better our own sleep habits. You might not have a marble bathhouse at home, but you do have access to routines and rituals that can make all the difference when it comes to winding down. It's fascinating, isn't it? The idea that something as simple as a warm bath could be the key to a good night's sleep has survived through centuries. The Romans didn't just bathe to clean themselves, they bathed to relax, to rejuvenate, and to prepare themselves for the night ahead. But here's something a little more surprising. While we may think of the bathhouse as a space of pure indulgence, it was actually a vital part of Roman culture that spoke volumes about their values, cleanliness, order, and a deep-seated belief in the connection between the body and the mind. When we think about how the Romans viewed hygiene, it's clear they had a much more sophisticated understanding of it than many of us might realize. You see, the Roman obsession with cleanliness went far beyond just getting rid of dirt. It was about creating a system of care that was both physical and mental. Their bathhouses weren't just places to wash off the grime of the day. They were places of ritual and routine, spaces where they could restore both their body and mind. This dedication to cleanliness played an essential role in their ability to sleep soundly. Historians still debate whether the Romans were the first civilization to truly institutionalize the concept of cleanliness, but it's safe to say that they were among the most enthusiastic about it. The Roman baths, particularly the thermae, the larger, more grandiose public baths, were emblematic of this obsession. These bathhouses were more than just facilities for bathing. They were sprawling, elaborate buildings designed for relaxation, socializing, and rejuvenation. In fact, bathing became a public affair, something that transcended class lines. Everyone, from emperors to the humblest slaves, used the bathhouses. They weren't just luxuries. They were part of daily life, so much so that the absence of a bathhouse in a city or town would have been unthinkable. Roman bathhouses were a true feat of engineering. To make sure the water was kept warm enough for the hot room's caldarium and maintained a comfortable temperature for the middle room's tepidarium, Romans employed a complex system of heating called the hypocaust. This underground heating system channeled hot air through spaces beneath the floors, keeping the bathhouse warm throughout the day and night. Imagine walking across floors that were warm to the touch, the heat radiating up through the stone, a feeling that would naturally ease any tension or stress in your body. The warmth worked its way into your muscles and joints, creating a deep sense of relaxation. The Romans knew exactly what they were doing when it came to creating an environment that made rest and sleep inevitable. But it wasn't just the technology behind the bathhouses that helped with sleep. It was the surrounding culture. The Romans believed in the importance of balance, and the bathhouse was a space where balance was achieved between heat and cold, light and dark, work and relaxation. It was here, amidst the marble floors, fragrant oils, and the sounds of gentle conversation, that Romans could leave behind the stresses of their daily lives and truly unwind. And in a way, that's the key to the Roman approach to sleep. They didn't just think about sleep in terms of what they did once they were in bed. No, they approached sleep as a part of the larger rhythm of life, a rhythm that included time for work, time for socializing, and time for rejuvenation. But, and here's where it gets interesting, there's a quirky twist to the whole Roman obsession with cleanliness. While they were meticulous about their baths and hygiene, they also had a somewhat unusual way of using bath products. One of the more bizarre aspects of Roman bathing was the use of crocodile dung as a type of skincare treatment. Yes, you heard that right. Romans believed that the dung of crocodiles, yes, those scaly, ancient reptiles, had skin healing properties. They would mix it with other ingredients to make a paste that was applied to the skin, believing it could heal wounds and improve the condition of their skin. Historians still argue about whether this was based on any real medicinal properties or if it was just an ancient form of a beauty trend. But it certainly adds a layer of intrigue to the entire Roman bathing experience. Now, before you start thinking about using crocodile dung in your own skincare routine, let's return to the core idea. The Romans truly understood the connection between hygiene and mental well-being. While we may find the idea of using such ingredients a bit off-putting today, the essence of what they were doing was incredibly sophisticated. By combining baths with massage, relaxation, and the release of tension, the Romans were creating a space where they could both heal and rest. This act of self-care was something they believed would help them sleep better, as the body would be thoroughly relaxed and primed for a restful night. But, as with all great historical practices, there are debates about whether the Romans truly understood the full range of sleep hygiene principles. Some argue that it was their culture of balance and routine that made their bathing habits so effective. Others claim that it was simply the physiological benefits of warm water, soothing massages, and relaxation that helped them achieve a better night's rest. Either way, one thing is certain. The Romans weren't just bathing for the sake of cleanliness. They were bathing to sleep better. As you lie back and imagine yourself in the warmth of a Roman bath, let's think for a moment about the power of ritual. The Romans understood that creating an atmosphere of relaxation, of balance and calm, was essential to good sleep. Maybe that's something we can all take with us as we go about our modern lives. A warm bath, a quiet room, a moment to pause before sleep. It might not be quite as elaborate as the Roman thermi, but the effect is still the same: relaxation, rejuvenation, and a much-needed rest. Now imagine yourself slipping deeper into the Roman bathhouse, where the rituals of relaxation are in full swing. The scent of oils and perfumes gently fills the air, and the ambient warmth seeps into your skin, melting away the stress of the day. The Romans didn't just bathe in order to wash away the grime. They bathed as an experience, a chance to socialize, to connect with others, and ultimately to unwind and sleep better. Let's take a closer look at how Roman bathhouses served as social hubs, where people came together not just to clean themselves, but to engage in some of the most important moments of their day. Historians have often pointed out that the bathhouse wasn't just a place for hygiene. It was, in fact, a vital part of Roman society, a communal space where people gathered to relax, converse, and conduct business. While the wealthy might have their own private bathhouses, the public baths were the lifeblood of Roman social life. These bathhouses, known as thermae, were places where Romans from all walks of life could mingle. In the same spaces where they scrubbed away the day's dirt, they also rubbed elbows with politicians, soldiers, philosophers, and even slaves. It was one of the few places where class divisions were momentarily blurred. When you walked into the Roman bathhouse, it would have been hard not to notice the chatter of conversation, the laughter, and the clink of coins changing hands. People didn't simply come to bathe. They came to relax, catch up on the latest news, or perhaps strike a deal. Think of it as an ancient version of the modern spa or wellness center, where people go not only for relaxation, but to be around others, engage in conversation, and network. The Romans understood that relaxation wasn't just about the body, it was also about the mind and spirit, and they created spaces that catered to both. As you moved deeper into the bathhouse, you'd likely notice that the layout itself was designed to encourage social interaction. There were large, open areas where groups of people could gather in a circle, chat, and even conduct business. There were also smaller, more intimate spaces for private conversations. The combination of public and private spaces allowed for a range of social activities to take place, from casual conversations to serious negotiations. The sounds of the bathhouse, the splashing of water, the low murmur of voices, and the occasional burst of laughter became the soundtrack of Roman life. Historians still argue whether the Romans knew it consciously, but socializing in the bathhouse was also an essential way to reduce stress and create bonds. Stress, as we know today, has a huge impact on sleep. The act of socializing in such a relaxed environment allowed people to unwind, let go of their worries, and enjoy the companionship of others. This was a form of mental decompression, a necessary step before heading into the more personal space of sleep. So, when you think about it, the bathhouse wasn't just about getting clean. It was also about creating the right mindset for rest and relaxation. Now, of course, the Roman bathhouse wasn't without its quirks. While many Romans saw it as a place to relax and rejuvenate, there were those who used it for more interesting purposes. For example, the thermae wasn't just a place for bathing. It also doubled as a social center where people might also engage in gambling, business deals, or even intimate encounters. There's a theory that some of these public baths were considered the early hotspots for mixing business with pleasure. But even with these more lively activities, the bathhouse still served its intended purpose: to provide a space where individuals could let go of the day's stresses and prepare themselves for the night's sleep. Whether you were talking politics or indulging in a little gossip, the bathhouse offered a sanctuary for the mind, body, and soul. The cultural importance of the bathhouse as a social space can't be overstated. As the Romans spent hours soaking, massaging, and chatting, they were, in a way, preparing their bodies for a good night's sleep. The gentle hum of conversation, the sense of camaraderie, and the relief of stress all contributed to the calm that would follow. Imagine having an entire day of relaxing rituals designed not only for your body's comfort, but for your mind's peace. This was the luxury of the Roman bathhouse. By the time you left, you were relaxed, refreshed, and ready for the peaceful slumber that awaited. Interestingly, the Roman bathhouse also provided an opportunity for more philosophical discussions, making it not only a place for relaxation but intellectual exchange. Philosophers and political figures often debated and discussed their ideas while soaking in the baths. Some of the most prominent thinkers of the time would have been found in the bathhouses, sipping wine, enjoying the warmth of the water, and contemplating life's big questions. In fact, the bathhouse played such an important role in intellectual life that it wasn't unusual to see politicians discussing state matters or strategizing with military leaders while reclining in the warmth of the caldarium. This connection between socializing and sleep might seem like an odd pairing, but it makes sense when you consider how the body and mind are connected. The Romans understood this connection long before modern science confirmed it. They knew that engaging in social interactions, whether they were lighthearted or more serious, could help reduce tension and promote a sense of well-being. That, in turn, created the right mental state for a peaceful, uninterrupted sleep. You might be wondering how all of this connects to your own sleep routine today. Well, think of it like this. In our fast-paced, technology-driven world, we often forget the importance of human connection in the pursuit of relaxation. While modern spas and wellness centers have evolved to serve the same basic functions as the Roman baths, there's still something to be said for taking time to relax, unwind, and socialize with those around us. Maybe the Romans had the right idea all along. Creating spaces and routines that promote both physical relaxation and social connection can be just as important for a good night's sleep today as it was in ancient times. Now that we've seen how the Roman bathhouses served as social centers and relaxation havens, let's take a step back and look at the larger picture, the architecture and design behind these incredible spaces. Picture this. You're standing in front of an awe-inspiring building, towering in size, made of stone and marble, reflecting the grandeur of Rome itself. It's not just a bathhouse. It's a testament to Roman engineering, an architectural marvel that brought the concept of relaxation to new heights. But what exactly went into designing these bathhouses? And how did the Romans manage to create such complex systems that not only heated water, but also transformed bathing into a sophisticated art? The first thing you'd notice as you entered a Roman bathhouse was its sheer size. Roman bathhouses, particularly the Grand Thermae, were vast structures, often large enough to accommodate hundreds, if not thousands, of bathers. These buildings weren't just about aesthetics. They were designed with functionality in mind. Everything, from the layout of the rooms to the materials used, was carefully planned to create the perfect environment for relaxation. The goal wasn't just to bathe. It was to experience a complete system of care that began the moment you entered and lasted until you left. Central to the design of Roman baths was the hypocaust, an ingenious system that heated the floors and walls. The hypocaust consisted of a series of ducts and flues that channeled hot air beneath the floors, which were raised on pillars. These heated floors would then radiate warmth into the rooms above. The process was similar to modern underfloor heating systems, but it was far more advanced for its time. This system allowed the Romans to control the temperature in different rooms, such as the hot caldarium, warm tepidarium, and cool frigidarium. Imagine yourself stepping from the hot, steam-filled caldarium to the cool, invigorating frigidarium. The transition was designed to not only cleanse the body, but also stimulate circulation and refresh the mind. The Romans understood the therapeutic value of heat and cold, using it to cleanse, relax, and rejuvenate. But all of this was made possible by their incredible engineering skills, which allowed them to manipulate the environment in a way that made rest and relaxation an immersive experience. The Romans were also meticulous about water. The bathhouses depended on a constant supply of fresh water, and to make sure this was possible, the Romans developed complex aqueducts. These monumental structures carried water from distant sources, sometimes miles away, into the cities, ensuring that the bathhouses had an endless supply. The aqueducts were marvels of engineering, built with precision to ensure the constant flow of water without interruption. They also used these aqueducts for their fountains, ensuring that the bathhouse always had running water to keep the pools filled. You can almost imagine how soothing it must have been to hear the soft rush of water as it cascaded into the pools. This was no small feat, and the Romans understood that a steady flow of water was essential to both their hygiene and their relaxation rituals. But what was the experience like for the individual bather? As you wandered through the bathhouse, the architectural design worked in tandem with the natural elements to guide you through a series of carefully planned steps. You'd begin in the changing room, the appetiterium, where you could undress and store your clothes in lockers. The room itself would be large, with high ceilings, open spaces, and benches lining the walls. The walls were often decorated with mosaics or frescoes, which served to engage the senses before you even stepped into the water. The bathhouse was a feast for the eyes as much as it was for the body. After undressing, you'd move into the tepidarium, the warm room, where the heat would start to relax your muscles and open your pores. The temperature in the tepidarium was just enough to make you feel comfortable without overwhelming you. Imagine lying back on a heated stone bench, the warm air surrounding you, the smell of fragrant oils lingering in the air. As you rested, your body began to loosen, and you felt the stresses of the day begin to melt away. The Romans understood that this was just the first step in a multi-phase process designed to relax the body and calm the mind. After the tepidarium, you'd enter the caldarium, the hot room, where the temperature was raised to a point that would make you sweat. This sweating process was essential for cleansing the body. The Romans believed that sweat was a natural way to rid the body of impurities, and they would often use a special instrument called a strigil to scrape away sweat and dirt from the skin. Imagine the sensation of the warm water pouring over you as you scrubbed away the grime of the day, both physically and mentally. By the time you finished in the caldarium, your muscles would be fully relaxed, and your body would be ready for the final phase, the cool down. The final room, the frigidarium, was a refreshing shock to the system. The cool water in the pools was meant to close the pores and reinvigorate the body after the intense heat of the previous rooms. It was also a time for you to cool off and reflect on the relaxation you had just experienced. The coolness of the water left you feeling refreshed, energized, and completely relaxed, ready to leave the bathhouse with a sense of peace and readiness for a restful sleep. But there was more to this process than just the water and temperature. The Romans knew that the atmosphere of the bathhouse, its design, its sounds, and even its scents played an important role in creating a space for relaxation. The bathhouses were often built with large open courtyards, where sunlight filtered through high windows and stone arches. The floors, made of marble or other cool stones, were smooth and comfortable to walk on, enhancing the sensory experience. The Romans also used oils and perfumes during their bathing rituals, applying them to the skin for both hygiene and relaxation. The gentle, calming scents would have added an extra layer of sensory stimulation, making the entire experience feel luxurious and tranquil. Historians still debate whether the Romans truly understood the physiological effects of their bathhouse design, or if they simply relied on the trial and error of creating such spaces. But regardless of their understanding, they were clearly onto something. The design of the Roman bathhouse had a profound impact on its users. The combination of warmth, cold, and sensory relaxation helped to reset the body and mind, preparing Romans for a good night's sleep. It's no wonder that bathhouses were such an integral part of Roman life. They weren't just places to wash. They were sanctuaries for the body, the mind, and the soul. Let's take a moment to step back and really appreciate what the Romans did with their bathhouses. As we've seen, they weren't just about getting clean or even socializing. The entire bathhouse experience was designed to rejuvenate the body, calm the mind, and prepare the individual for a restful night's sleep. But the experience didn't end with the final plunge into the cold waters of the frigidarium. No, the Roman bathhouse ritual was far more intricate than that, with each step carefully crafted to maximize relaxation and promote well-being. Now, let's dive into how the baths were structured into a soothing, multi-step ritual that went beyond just hygiene and relaxation. It was a true art form. Imagine yourself fully immersed in this soothing environment. You've started with the warm tepidarium, letting the heat loosen your muscles and ease any tension. You've moved into the intense caldarium, where the heat has made you sweat, releasing impurities and calming your body from the inside out. Now, you're on your way to the frigidarium, the cool-down phase that leaves you feeling fresh, energized, and completely restored. But that's not the end of the story. The Romans knew that in order to truly relax, you needed more than just water and temperature. You needed ritual. Historians argue whether the Romans deliberately created these rituals for relaxation, or if it was simply an incidental consequence of how they designed their bathhouses. Regardless of intent, the fact is that bathing in ancient Rome was a multi-layered experience that went beyond just cleaning the body. The whole experience was a sensory journey, designed to calm and soothe every part of you. From the warm glow of the tepidarium to the sharp shock of the frigidarium, and even the addition of fragrances and oils, the Romans were creating an environment that was intentionally crafted to bring about relaxation and rest. What was the purpose of all this? Well, simply put, to prepare for sleep. The Romans were keenly aware that the state of their bodies and minds directly affected how well they could sleep. The warm temperatures, the rhythmic flow of water, the social aspects, and even the scents, they all worked together to create an atmosphere of relaxation and tranquility. Bathing was not just about physical cleanliness. It was an integral part of the broader routine that set the stage for sleep. Beyond the cooling and heating rituals, let's take a look at how the body itself was treated with care. Roman bathhouses included skilled attendants and slaves whose job it was to ensure that bathers were pampered and well cared for. The use of oils and perfumes wasn't just for fragrance. It was a way to nourish and protect the skin after it had been exposed to heat and cold. Romans would have used olive oil as a moisturizer and cleanser, applying it to the skin during their massages. This was more than just a hygienic step. It was a form of self-care, providing relaxation to the body while calming the mind. The massages themselves were another important part of the bathing process. Roman bathers often had attendants use tools like the strigil to scrape away dirt and sweat from the skin. It wasn't just about cleanliness, though. It was also a way to promote circulation and relax the muscles. After the strigal massage, bathers might be given a soothing rub down with oils or lotions. This combination of warmth, scraping, and soothing oils would leave the body in a state of profound relaxation, ready for sleep. As you imagine yourself in this experience, the sensory overload begins to sink in. The soft sense of oil, the warmth of the stone, the soothing sound of water, all of it works together to create the perfect environment for sleep. The baths themselves, while busy and full of activity, offered a moment of stillness for your mind. You weren't just scrubbing away the day's dirt, you were resetting yourself, preparing your body and mind for the relaxation that would come with sleep. The Romans knew something that we often overlook today. Relaxation isn't just about the end result, it's about the process. It's about taking time to unwind, to clear your mind, and to let go of the stress of the day. The Roman bathing experience wasn't a rushed affair. It wasn't about squeezing in a quick shower or bath before heading to bed. No, it was about investing time in the body, in the mind, and in the soul. It was a ritual, a routine, a time to care for yourself in a way that would leave you feeling rested and at peace. Historians often point to the Roman bathhouses as examples of ancient luxury, but they were also examples of ancient wisdom. The Romans understood that relaxation, both physical and mental, was an integral part of the human experience. By designing bathhouses that were not just functional, but soothing, they created an environment where people could reset, recharge, and sleep better. And in doing so, they set the stage for generations of people, from ancient Rome to the modern world, to recognize the importance of relaxation and rest. But here's something fascinating. While we associate the bathhouse with a place of relaxation, it wasn't just about luxury. The Romans truly believed that bathing had health benefits, and this wasn't limited to the physical body. Mental well-being, too, was part of the equation. By creating spaces for the mind to unwind, they improved their chances of getting a peaceful night's sleep. A restful body needed a peaceful mind, and that was the true purpose of the Roman bathhouse. The evidence of this belief is all around us. Even today, modern spas, hot tubs, and wellness centers all rely on many of the same principles the Romans established. It might look different, perhaps with more technology and fewer marble columns, but the essential concept remains the same: to provide an environment that encourages rest and relaxation. So, as we linger in the glow of the Roman bathhouse, I want you to picture something that might seem slightly out of place: the scent of the place. No, I'm not talking about the typical smells you might expect in a public bathhouse. Things like the steamy warmth of hot water and, well, the general body odor. What I'm referring to here are the luxurious oils, perfumes, and aromatic substances that the Romans used to enhance their bathing experience. You see, the Romans didn't just rely on water and temperature to make the bath an experience. They understood the power of scent in creating a soothing, relaxing environment that prepared the body and mind for rest. It's one of those small details that might seem frivolous on the surface, but in reality, it was just as important as the hot water and cool air that worked their way into your body. Imagine entering the bathhouse, already feeling the heat surrounding you, and then, whiff, the air is filled with the soothing fragrance of lavender, rosemary, or the sweet, citrusy notes of orange blossom. The Romans were no strangers to the power of scent, and they used it liberally in their baths. They believed that certain aromas could calm the mind, ease anxiety, and even enhance physical well-being. And the best part? They used oils and perfumes not only in the bath itself, but also on their bodies after the bath was over. After you finished scrubbing, scraping, and relaxing in the warm pools, you'd leave the bathhouse with your skin, not just clean, but perfumed and nourished. The oils and scents were like an extra layer of luxury, an invitation for your body and mind to unwind even further. Historians still argue whether the use of these luxurious scents had any genuine medicinal benefits, or if it was simply a form of ancient self-care. Some scholars claim that the fragrances used in Roman baths may have had antimicrobial properties, aiding in overall health and hygiene. Others believe that the Romans were simply indulging in the calming effects of aromatherapy long before it was a trendy thing to do. Whatever the reason, it's clear that scent played an important role in how the Romans viewed the bathhouse as a space for mental and physical rejuvenation. Now think about the last time you had a bath or used a product with a calming scent. Maybe you used lavender-scented body wash or lit a candle with a relaxing fragrance to help you wind down. You might not realize it, but you're tapping into a practice that's been around for centuries. The ancient Romans knew that fragrance wasn't just about smelling nice. It was about creating an atmosphere that helped your body and mind align. They intuitively understood that scent could create an emotional response, and that response would help you relax, sleep better, and ultimately feel more rejuvenated. In fact, it wasn't just about the perfume. The entire environment of the bathhouse, the warmth, the coolness, the sounds of water splashing, and the aromatic scents was designed to engage all of the senses, guiding you through a process that would end with peaceful sleep. Imagine walking from the warm tepidarium to the hot caldarium, then cooling off in the frigidarium, all while surrounded by the luxurious fragrance of oils and perfumes. Your senses were being slowly coaxed into relaxation, one step at a time. The use of fragrances wasn't just reserved for the bathhouses either. The Romans used aromatic oils for everyday purposes too. Think of it as their version of modern-day essential oils. They would apply these oils directly to their skin after a bath, often combining them with soothing massages. Lavender oil, in particular, was a favorite, known for its calming effects. It was said to help with both sleep and relaxation, making it the perfect companion for the post-bath routine. Imagine that relaxing sensation as you're massaged with a fragrant oil, your muscles relaxed, your skin soft, and your mind at ease. All of this set you up for the ultimate reward, a restful night's sleep. Of course, the Romans weren't the only ones who believed in the power of fragrance. Many ancient civilizations used scents and perfumes for both hygiene and relaxation. But what made the Roman approach unique was how they integrated scents into the bathing experience, using them as part of a larger ritual designed to create physical and mental well-being. The luxurious use of scents was just another layer of sophistication in the Roman bathing tradition, one that elevated the practice from simple hygiene to a full-bodied experience of relaxation and rejuvenation. This idea of aromatherapy, so central to Roman life, might sound like an ancient luxury today, but it's one that's very much alive in our modern spa culture. Think about it. When you visit a modern spa, there's often an emphasis on using essential oils and aromatherapy to help you relax. The practice is essentially a continuation of what the Romans were doing thousands of years ago. The only real difference is that today, we have fancy names for it like aromatherapy, and we apply oils in different ways. But the basic principles remain the same. Scent, warmth, and touch are all essential ingredients for relaxation, sleep, and overall well-being. As you lay back in your modern bath, with the soft fragrance of lavender or eucalyptus filling the air, you're connecting to a long tradition of using scent to calm the mind and body. The Romans would have appreciated your attention to detail because, after all, their entire bathhouse experience was built on this very same principle. Relaxation is not just about what happens to the body, but how the senses are engaged to create a full, calming experience. You see, the Romans knew that sleep didn't just come from having a nice pillow or a dark room. It came from setting the right environment for rest. And that environment wasn't just about temperature and water. It was about creating a space that activated your senses, soothed your mind, and helped you relax. It's something we can learn from today, as we try to find ways to unwind, relax, and sleep better. As we continue through this Roman journey, there's one crucial piece of the puzzle we haven't fully explored yet: the bathing ritual itself. While the bathhouses were structured to provide relaxation and rejuvenation, there was also a specific order of events designed to maximize these effects. The steps taken in Roman baths weren't haphazard. They were carefully constructed, almost meditative in their design. And this ritual didn't just benefit the body in terms of cleanliness. It served as a profound act of care for the self, a way of mentally preparing for the rest that would follow. Let's start by walking through a typical Roman bathing session, step by step, with a mind to how each part of the ritual works together to prepare you for sleep. Imagine you've just entered the appetiterium, the changing room, where you leave your clothes behind. As you disrobe, you feel a slight chill in the air, nothing too cold, just enough to signal that you're about to transition into a space of warmth. The first step in the ritual is important because it sets the tone. The removal of external distractions. You're leaving behind the clothes and the stress of the day. As you step into the bathhouse proper, your mind starts to focus inward. Now, it's time for the first stop, the tepidarium. The tepidarium is a warm room, just warm enough to begin loosening the muscles and opening the pores, but not so hot as to exhaust you. The Romans knew that starting gently was important in preparing the body for the more intense heat to come. As you lie back on one of the marble benches, you begin to feel the warmth ease into your body. The heat isn't overwhelming, but it's just enough to start the process of relaxation. Imagine the scent of oils and perfumes beginning to fill the air, maybe lavender or rose. The warmth sinks into your bones, loosening any tightness in your muscles and preparing you for the next phase. After spending some time in the tepidarium, your body is now ready for the caldarium, the hot room. The temperature here is intense, and you can feel the heat start to open up your pores even further. This is where the Roman concept of purification comes into play. The Romans believed that sweating was one of the most effective ways to cleanse the body and remove impurities. It wasn't just about getting clean, it was about shedding the toxins and stresses of the day, leaving behind the weight of the world. The caldarium also included a critical component to the process, the strigil massage. A servant or an attendant would scrape the sweat and dirt off the skin with this curved, metal instrument, leaving your skin smooth and refreshed. This wasn't just about removing sweat. It was a form of physical and mental release. The strigil was a physical reminder that you were letting go of the day's burdens. As the attendant works the tool over your skin, the act itself becomes part of the ritual, a final shedding of the physical and emotional residue that you carry around. It's a moment of complete release, a pivotal part of this process designed to prepare the mind for rest. Now, imagine yourself, after the strigil has been used, you feel lighter, your skin soft and free of toxins, and your muscles completely relaxed. It's time to take a dip in the cool waters of the frigidarium. The frigidarium serves as the final phase in the Roman bathing ritual. The cool water is a sharp contrast to the heat of the caldarium, but it's an essential step. The cold water helps close the pores, reinvigorating the body while calming the mind. The transition from intense heat to cold water was both a physical and mental shock, a way of resetting the body's systems and creating a sense of renewal. But here's the key. The cold wasn't just about physical rejuvenation. It was also about the sensation of contrast. The sudden shift from warmth to cold forced the body to react, which in turn focused the mind. Imagine the sensation of stepping into the cool water, feeling the sharpness of the cold shock your senses, but also leaving you feeling refreshed and alert. The sudden coolness not only closes the pores, but also signals to your body that the relaxation process is now complete. As you step out of the frigidarium, you begin to feel completely different, both physically refreshed and mentally clear. Now, as you leave the bathhouse, imagine how your body feels. You've just gone through a multi-step process of relaxation, detoxification, and rejuvenation. Your body feels loose, your skin soft, and your muscles no longer tense from the stresses of the day. You feel both relaxed and energized, mentally calm but also alert. The entire bathhouse experience, from the warm room to the hot room to the cool down, has prepared you for one crucial thing: sleep. This ritual, this carefully constructed routine, isn't just about bathing. It's about taking time for yourself, carving out space to unwind and let go of the day's tension. It's about consciously relaxing the body and mind, ensuring that when you finally lay down to sleep, you do so without the weight of the world on your shoulders. The Romans understood this concept far better than we give them credit for. They didn't simply bathe to clean themselves. They bathed to reset their bodies, to clear their minds, and to sleep better. Historians still debate whether the Romans knew just how important these rituals were for sleep, or whether they just stumbled upon them through trial and error. Either way, the results were undeniable. Bathing in Roman culture was a therapeutic practice that blended physical care with mental relaxation. And perhaps that's something we can all learn from today. In our modern, fast-paced world, it's easy to forget that rest isn't just about lying down. True rest, true sleep, requires preparation, and the Roman bathhouse was the ultimate preparation for a peaceful night's sleep. Now that we've journeyed through the Roman bathhouse, exploring its many stages and the thoughtful design behind the relaxation rituals, we begin to see how deeply intertwined these baths were with Roman culture. The importance of baths extended far beyond just cleaning the body. It was about maintaining balance, both physically and mentally. Roman bathhouses were not only a sanctuary for the body, they were also a space where the mind could find peace, relax, and prepare for sleep. This wasn't just luxury. It was a lifestyle rooted in the belief that relaxation, health, and well-being were interconnected. But how exactly did these public bathhouses play a role in Roman society, and why were they so critical in daily life? The public bathhouses were an essential part of Roman infrastructure, and they weren't just for the elite. In fact, one of the defining aspects of Roman bathing culture was its accessibility. Romans, from the highest to the lowest classes, had access to these public bathhouses. Whether you were a senator or a slave, you could enjoy the benefits of the thermae. In this way, the Roman bathhouse served as a democratizing institution, one that allowed for the entire city, regardless of status, to benefit from the same practices of relaxation and rejuvenation. You might be wondering, how could a public bathhouse serve all these different classes, from the rich to the poor, without causing chaos? The Romans, as you might imagine, had a solution for that. The bathhouses were often large enough to separate different groups, with different times allotted for different classes. Wealthier Romans typically used the baths during the more private hours, while the lower classes would visit during public hours. But regardless of your status, the experience was the same, except for the cost of entry. The baths were an equalizer in a society that was otherwise deeply divided by class, a place where everyone could experience the same benefits of rest and relaxation. The idea that everyone could come together in one place for the sole purpose of rest is quite remarkable. The baths were also incredibly important in fostering a sense of community. While they were primarily designed for personal care, they also played a role in Roman social life. The bathhouses were places where people could gather, chat, discuss political matters, and build relationships. It wasn't unusual to hear the debates of senators or the discussions of merchants while lounging in the hot pools or receiving a massage. This made the bathhouse an integral part of Roman civic life. It was not just a place of personal care, but also a hub of social interaction and cultural exchange. Think of it like a modern-day gym, where people not only go to work out and relax, but also meet others, network, or simply catch up with friends. But in the Roman case, the bathhouse was much more than a gym. It was a place where relaxation, hygiene, and socialization all converged. The gentle sounds of water splashing, the conversations buzzing, and the scents of oils and perfumes made the bathhouse a space for rejuvenation, both physical and mental. This leads us to an interesting question. What were the actual health benefits of these long hours spent in the bathhouse? Historians still debate the true impact of Roman bathing on physical health, but many agree that the act of bathing, combined with the massages, oils, and relaxation, likely had significant therapeutic benefits. The Romans knew the value of relaxation, not just as a luxury, but as a necessity for maintaining both physical and mental health. One theory is that the Roman bathing routine contributed significantly to the overall longevity and health of the Roman people. The process of bathing, with its combination of heat, cold, and massage, would have been beneficial for muscle relaxation, improving circulation, and promoting overall well-being. Some scholars argue that these daily rituals, combined with a Mediterranean diet, likely helped the Romans maintain better physical health than many other ancient civilizations. But it wasn't just the physical benefits that made the baths so important, it was the mental health benefits as well. The thermae allowed individuals to escape from the pressures of daily life, providing a sanctuary where they could unwind and clear their minds. In a world full of political upheaval, military campaigns, and economic struggles, the bathhouse was a reprieve, offering both peace and the mental clarity needed for daily life. By engaging in these rituals, the Romans were able to reset, mentally and physically, ensuring that they were ready for the challenges of the day, or, perhaps more importantly, ready for a restful night of sleep. The social aspect of the bathhouse also played a role in mental health. As we've discussed, the bathhouse was a place for socializing, and social connections were a crucial part of Roman life. You could relax in the warm water, engage in conversations with friends or strangers, and create bonds that helped foster a sense of community. The bathhouses became centers of connection, where individuals could meet, exchange ideas, and even resolve conflicts. This kind of social engagement was incredibly important in maintaining mental health and fostering a sense of belonging. And it's likely one of the reasons why the Romans valued their baths so much. Think about how powerful a daily ritual could be if it not only helped you physically, but also provided time for social connection and mental clarity. We see echoes of this practice in our own world today. Spas, gyms, yoga studios, and even coffee shops provide not only a place for personal care, but a space for relaxation and mental renewal. And just like the Romans, we often use these spaces to prepare ourselves for the next stage in life, whether it's a busy workday or a restful night of sleep. In the end, the Roman bathhouses were so much more than just a luxury. They were a holistic approach to well-being. By combining hygiene, relaxation, socialization, and mental rejuvenation, the bathhouse served as a multi-purpose space designed to improve quality of life. And if there's one takeaway from all this, it's that the Romans understood the connection between physical health, mental health, and rest. Their approach was an early form of self-care that's still relevant today. So, the next time you sink into a warm bath or step into a sauna, remember the Romans. They may not have had the same modern luxuries we enjoy, but they knew that relaxation was key to a better, more restful life. And who knows, maybe there's something to their ancient bathing rituals that we can incorporate into our own routines to help us sleep better tonight. Now that we've explored the grandeur and rituals of Roman bathhouses, let's step away from the bath itself and take a look at the deeper philosophical and cultural significance of bathing in Roman society. It wasn't just about personal care or socializing. It was a reflection of the Roman worldview, a lens through which they understood not just the body, but the mind and soul. This was a society that valued hygiene, balance, and health, and their bathing culture was a reflection of their greater values. The Romans didn't just bathe because it felt good. They bathed because it was deeply connected to their beliefs about purity and order. In a world full of war, politics, and empire building, they found peace and balance in the ritual of bathing. The bathhouse was not only a place of relaxation, it was, in a way, a metaphor for the Roman approach to life itself. Structured, disciplined, and centered on balance. The ritualistic process of moving through different rooms in the bathhouse, from the tepidarium to the caldarium to the frigidarium, mirrored how the Romans approached all aspects of life, methodical, controlled, but also allowing space for relaxation and regeneration. And this sense of order and balance was not just a personal philosophy. It extended to the wider Roman Empire. Romans believed in the importance of balance in all things, in their work, their relationships, and even in their governing. The idea of temperantia or moderation was central to their worldview. The baths, with their carefully regulated temperatures, their mix of heat and cold, were physical embodiments of this belief. A little bit of heat, a little bit of cold, and just the right amount of time spent in each phase created the perfect environment for relaxation. Too much of one or the other could disrupt the balance. It was all about achieving harmony. This balance was also evident in the Roman approach to health and wellness. In Roman society, bathing was closely linked to the idea of physical well-being, but it was also about mental and spiritual health. The act of bathing, of relaxing in warm water, of letting go of the day's stresses, was seen as necessary for both body and mind. By cleansing the body, Romans believed they could also cleanse their minds, preparing themselves for the challenges ahead. A clear body meant a clear mind, and both were essential for achieving the peace that the Romans valued so highly. But let's take a closer look at how the Roman elite thought about the intersection of the physical body and the soul. Many prominent philosophers, like Seneca and Cicero, viewed the practice of bathing as an essential part of a disciplined, balanced life. They saw the bathhouse as a place where you could not only cleanse your body, but also your mind. After all, the Romans weren't just concerned with the health of the body, they were also obsessed with moral and intellectual health. To them, bathing was an opportunity to clear away the mental clutter that would otherwise cloud their judgment. If you were clean in body, you could also be clear-headed, prepared for the challenges of life. The bathhouse, then, became a place of both physical renewal and philosophical reflection. Interestingly, Roman attitudes toward bathing also reflected their understanding of relaxation and leisure. In a world where slaves did much of the physical labor, leisure time for the Roman citizen was seen as a vital part of life. It wasn't just about self-indulgence, it was about maintaining a state of mental and physical balance. Romans didn't view relaxation as an afterthought or something to feel guilty about. Instead, it was seen as necessary for good health and good governance. In fact, the concept of work-life balance was as relevant to the Romans as it is to us today. The time spent in the bathhouse was not time wasted. It was an investment in health, vitality, and even productivity. And it's here where the Roman approach to sleep comes full circle. The rituals of bathing were as much about preparing for sleep as they were about preparing for the next day. The Romans knew that rest was essential for maintaining energy, focus, and well-being. A good night's sleep wasn't just about lying down and closing your eyes. It was about creating an environment that helped the body and mind enter a state of complete relaxation. This is where their bathing rituals played such an important role. The process of bathing, from the heat of the caldarium to the coolness of the frigidarium, was designed to reset the body and mind, preparing both for restful sleep. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet, because it's not just about the ritual of bathing. The Romans also understood the power of consistency and routine. It wasn't enough to bathe once in a while. They built their entire day around regular bathing rituals, just as they built their lives around regular routines of work, rest, and leisure. This consistency was key to their mental and physical health. The predictable nature of the bathhouse ritual, along with its soothing effects, helped reinforce the sense of order and balance that the Romans valued so much. Historians still argue whether the Roman elite were particularly dedicated to bathing for health, or if it was more about status. Certainly, bathing in grand thermae was a sign of wealth and privilege. But I think we can safely say that, at least for the Romans, bathing was much more than a luxury. It was a key part of maintaining balance in their lives. Whether they were wealthy or poor, citizens of Rome understood that their bodies needed care, that their minds needed relaxation, and that they needed rest to function effectively. And bathing, in all its complexity, was the perfect ritual to ensure they got it. So, as we continue to think about how the Roman bathhouse worked its magic, it's important to remember that it wasn't just about physical cleanliness or even socializing. It was about resetting the mind and body, helping to align both for the peaceful rest that was so crucial to Roman life. They didn't just bathe for comfort. They bathed for balance. And in that balance, they found the secret to not only surviving the demands of Roman life, but thriving in it. Let's shift gears for a moment and explore something that might surprise you: the concept of Roman bathhouses in winter. While we often think of baths as a warm weather luxury or an indulgence reserved for the cooler months in modern spas, the Romans took a different approach. Bathing in winter wasn't just a matter of hygiene. It was a fundamental part of their cultural and health practices, one that went beyond the simple need for a hot soak to thaw out from the cold. The cold months presented their own challenges, but for the Romans, they understood that maintaining a steady rhythm of relaxation and cleanliness was essential to staying healthy and prepared for the months ahead. You might think of winter as a time when baths are somewhat unnecessary, a season of hibernation where we curl up under blankets and enjoy some comfort food. For the Romans, however, winter didn't stop the bathhouse from operating. In fact, it was precisely during the colder months that the thermae and their services became more important. To them, it wasn't just about staying warm. It was about keeping the body in balance, regardless of the outside temperature. The Romans took full advantage of the hypocaust system, even in winter, ensuring that their bathhouse remained warm and comfortable during the colder months. While winter winds might have howled outside, inside the bathhouse, the temperature was controlled, thanks to the ingenious engineering that allowed warm air to circulate under the floors and throughout the rooms. Picture this. The chill of the outside world is replaced by the steady warmth of the bathhouse, where the air is thick with steam, the floor warm underfoot, and the soothing heat is a welcome reprieve. The winter baths were more than just a method of staying warm. They were a time to counter the chill that could take a toll on the body. The cold months often brought illness, from colds to joint pain, and the Romans knew that their bodies needed extra care to keep in optimal condition. The warm temperatures of the Caldarium were a way to combat the physical discomforts of winter, whether it was the stiffening of muscles from cold or the sluggish circulation from lack of sunlight. Bathing, combined with the massages and oils they used, helped prevent and treat these ailments. The Romans saw it as a way to not only protect their bodies from the harsh winter, but also to nurture them, ensuring that they could continue working, socializing, and even enjoying their leisure activities throughout the season. But beyond just the physical benefits, the act of bathing in winter also had a psychological effect. Imagine stepping into a warm, soothing bath after a cold, gray day. The cold outside can make the world feel isolating, but the bathhouse served as an oasis of warmth and community. Even in the dead of winter, bathhouses were a place to meet friends, exchange gossip, and share news. You could escape the isolation of winter and reconnect with the rhythms of Roman social life. The gentle warmth, the sounds of water splashing, and the mingling of voices helped lift the spirits, creating a sense of comfort and connection that extended beyond the physical body. But there was also a spiritual component to bathing in winter. Romans were highly attuned to the rhythms of nature, and the bathhouse rituals served as a way to stay in harmony with the changing seasons. In winter, as daylight hours shortened and cold temperatures took hold, the bathhouse became a symbol of resilience. It was a place where, even as the outside world seemed to slow down, the pace of life within the bathhouse continued at a steady, comforting rhythm. It became a place of continuity, where rituals didn't stop but instead adapted to the demands of the season. Historians still argue whether the Romans intentionally designed their baths to work so effectively in all seasons, or if it was simply a matter of practicality and necessity. Some suggest that it was a natural consequence of their engineering prowess and desire for comfort. Others claim that the bathhouse, much like other parts of Roman life, was governed by a strict sense of balance, and this included balancing the needs of the body during colder months. Regardless of the reasoning, the fact remains that Romans found ways to incorporate warmth, comfort, and social connection into their winter routines, and their bathhouses were a key element in this. In many ways, bathing in winter was a deeply therapeutic experience. The heat of the water helped with muscle stiffness and joint pain, both of which were common complaints during colder months. Romans, like many modern people, would have suffered from the aches and pains that come with winter's chill. And just as today's spas offer therapeutic treatments for winter-related issues, the Roman bathhouse became a haven for the body to relax, recuperate, and stay healthy through the season. But what's truly remarkable about the Roman approach is that they didn't treat winter as a time to slack off on their self-care. They didn't retreat into their homes or put off bathing rituals just because it was cold outside. Instead, they used the winter as an opportunity to focus even more on health and well-being. The winter bath was as much about preserving energy and resilience as it was about simply staying warm. This proactive approach to self-care in the face of the harsh season is something we could all take a cue from today, as we often neglect our health during the colder months in favor of hibernating. And of course, the importance of baths in winter was not just practical, it was also a moment of mental clarity, a chance to refresh and re-energize. While the outside world might have been bleak and dreary, the bathhouse offered a space where you could escape the cold, reset your body, and prepare your mind for the challenges ahead. The steady rhythm of the bathhouse, the warm water, and the companionship of others worked together to create an experience that was about more than just cleanliness. It was about comfort, rejuvenation, and continuity in the face of a changing world. So the next time the winter chill settles in, think of the Romans. Their approach to bathing during the cold months was more than just a routine. It was an act of self-care that kept them physically and mentally strong. In a world that often feels out of balance, the Roman bathhouse provides a perfect example of how to preserve wellness and comfort, no matter the season. As we continue to unravel the layers of Roman bathing culture, It's time to shift our focus to the concept of private versus public baths. While the Grand Thermae served as the iconic bathing experience in Rome, there were also private baths that served a very different purpose. The contrast between the public bathhouses, bustling with activity, and the private baths, often associated with the wealthier elite, reveals something crucial about Roman society: how class, privacy, and self-care were interwoven. Let's take a look at these different forms of bathing and how they reflected Roman social structures. Imagine stepping into a public bathhouse. The scene would be chaotic by today's standards: large crowds, bustling conversations, the clink of coins for entry, and attendants moving from room to room. These baths were often lavish, designed for the masses, and accessible to people from all walks of life. In Roman cities, public baths were more than just places to bathe. They were cultural hubs where everyone from slaves to senators could mingle. They served as social equalizers, where people of all classes could participate in the same ritual, but with different levels of comfort. The public baths were the Roman version of a shared wellness experience, a space where you could engage with the community, meet up with friends, or even negotiate business deals. But despite their social nature, public baths still held an inherent form of privacy. The design of these bathhouses ensured that people could enjoy the space while maintaining some degree of personal space. Even in a bustling room like the Caldarium, the division of areas and strategic placement of benches meant that there was still a sense of separation, allowing bathers to enjoy their time in the heat or cold without too much intrusion. The architecture created spaces where social interaction was encouraged, but individual experiences were respected. So, in many ways, public baths were an early form of socialization that also respected a certain level of privacy within the larger communal experience. Now, let's step into the private baths, which were quite different from their public counterparts. These private baths were typically found in the homes of the wealthy and elite. Unlike the large open bathhouses that served hundreds or even thousands of people a day, private baths were intimate spaces, often small, ornate, and designed with comfort and luxury in mind. These baths were not just for hygiene, but were also about relaxation, indulgence, and personal care. The bath areas in wealthy homes were often accompanied by finely detailed mosaics, marble accents, and intricate heating systems that ensured a luxurious bathing experience. What's fascinating about these private baths is the idea of privacy itself. In a society as structured as Rome, where public spaces and social interaction were highly regulated, the private bath allowed for a personal retreat. The rich could escape the chaos of the public baths, retreating to their own spaces where they could indulge in the same cleansing rituals, but on a much more exclusive level. The private bathhouse became a sanctuary, not just for hygiene, but also for contemplation, relaxation, and solitude. This personal space of comfort and retreat would likely have been used for mental relaxation as much as it was for physical rejuvenation, allowing the wealthy to separate from the busy, bustling life of the public sphere. Yet, despite their luxury, private baths didn't stray too far from the communal practices seen in public baths. The rituals, including the use of oils, perfumes, and massages, were carried over into private spaces as well. These baths were built with the same principles in mind: relaxation, rejuvenation, and preparing the body and mind for rest. The difference, however, lay in the exclusivity. You didn't have to share your bathing time with others. It was your personal space, designed to be an oasis of relaxation away from the outside world. So, what does this say about Roman society? The distinction between public and private baths shows us how Romans approached self-care, hygiene, and rest through different lenses based on their class and status. For the common Roman, the public bathhouse served as a vital part of daily life, a space for both hygiene and social interaction. The wealthy, on the other hand, could retreat to their private baths, where comfort and luxury were at the forefront. This divide in the bathing experience reflected the broader divides in Roman society, class distinctions that were apparent in every corner of life. The public baths served as a democratizing institution, but the private baths were symbols of wealth, exclusivity, and status. And yet, despite these differences, the overall purpose remained the same: to create an environment where both the body and mind could find peace, relaxation, and rejuvenation. Whether in the busy social spaces of the thermae or the serene, exclusive rooms of private baths, the goal was always the same: to prepare the individual for rest. Whether you were a senator or a common citizen, the Roman bath was a crucial part of achieving balance in both body and mind. It's also important to remember that while private baths were generally reserved for the elite, there were exceptions. Wealthy Romans often invited guests to use their private baths, and public baths were also sometimes used for more intimate social gatherings. It wasn't uncommon for high-ranking individuals to mingle with their peers in the public baths, though these interactions were often more reserved and formal compared to those in private spaces. As we think about the implications of public versus private bathing in ancient Rome, it's interesting to consider how these distinctions still exist today. Think about how we treat public and private wellness spaces. While modern spas are often open to the public, there are also private wellness clubs that cater specifically to an exclusive clientele. The same underlying principles apply today. Public spaces provide communal experiences, while private spaces offer solitude and luxury. Just as the Romans divided their bathing culture by class, we often seek out both shared and private experiences for rest and relaxation, balancing our need for social connection with our desire for personal, private moments of care. Ultimately, whether public or private, the Roman bathhouse, regardless of its size or exclusivity, served a common purpose: to provide a space where individuals could come to relax, rejuvenate, and prepare their bodies and minds for the rest they so desperately needed. The Roman approach to bathing wasn't just about hygiene. It was about balance, routine, and finding peace in both the body and the mind. As we venture deeper into the world of Roman baths, let's now explore the role that slaves played in maintaining and operating these massive bathing complexes. While we often think of the bathhouse as a luxury enjoyed by the wealthy, it's important to understand the hidden workers behind these extravagant rituals, the slaves who were responsible for running these spaces, ensuring that every bather had a flawless experience. In Roman society, where social hierarchy was paramount, the labor of slaves was often invisible, yet it was essential for the smooth operation of these communal rituals. And within this system, the bathhouse represented a fascinating microcosm of the Roman attitude toward labor, class, and care. Picture yourself as a Roman citizen entering the bustling bathhouse, greeted by a sea of attendants moving from room to room, their eyes trained on their duties. These attendants, many of whom were slaves, played an indispensable role in ensuring that the bathhouse functioned smoothly, from heating the water in the caldarium to assisting bathers with their strigils. They were the unseen hands that kept the entire operation running. The work that they did was crucial for maintaining the lavish atmosphere of the bathhouse and ensuring that every detail was attended to, from the cleanliness of the marble floors to the replenishment of hot water. In the larger public baths, the level of service was particularly impressive. Slaves, under the command of the bathhouse master, would constantly monitor and maintain the temperature of the water, ensuring it was at the perfect level for each room. The heat in the caldarium had to be closely regulated to avoid overwhelming the bathers. The slave's job was to ensure that every guest felt comfortable, ensuring that the water didn't get too hot, too cold, or too stagnant. In some of the grander bathhouses, there could be dozens of slaves working at once, each attending to a different aspect of the experience. The role of slaves in these bathhouses wasn't limited to just maintaining the water temperature or keeping the baths clean. They were also integral to the more personal aspects of the experience. In Roman baths, the strigil, a curved, metal instrument used to scrape dirt and oil off the skin, was a tool that was often used by slaves as part of a massage service. Bathers would lie back, allowing their slaves to use the strigil to remove dirt, oil, and sweat, providing them with an added layer of relaxation. This service was one of the most intimate tasks performed in the bathhouse, and the personal touch of a slave working the tool on a bather was a central part of the Roman bathing ritual. This labor, though essential to the functioning of the baths, was deeply tied to the social structure of Rome. Slaves in the bathhouses were often from the lower echelons of society and were considered little more than tools for service. Yet their role in the luxury of Roman bathing culture was indispensable. The irony here is that while bathing was viewed as a mark of civilization and status, the actual work behind the scenes was often invisible and undervalued. The comfortable and relaxing experience of the bathhouse was made possible by the labor of these slaves, many of whom likely never had the opportunity to enjoy the very privileges they helped provide to others. Despite their vital role in the bathhouse, the work of slaves often went unnoticed in the larger societal picture. Roman society had a complicated relationship with labor, especially when it came to the work done by slaves. While public bathhouses were spaces of social interaction, relaxation, and luxury, the labor of slaves in these spaces highlighted the harsh realities of Roman life for the lower classes. Bathing, in this sense, was an inherently unequal experience, a luxury enjoyed by the wealthy, but at the cost of the labor and suffering of those who served them. At the same time, some historians argue that the work done by slaves in the bathhouse was not necessarily oppressive or cruel. The fact that Roman slaves were often given specific responsibilities, such as working in the baths, assisting in grooming, or even providing massages, implies that their work was somewhat specialized, and in some cases, they could gain a sense of skill or even prestige from it. After all, slaves who worked in prestigious places like the baths were often exposed to the highest levels of Roman society and might even be given some degree of status in the eyes of their peers. This paradox reflects the complexities of Roman attitudes toward labor, class, and social mobility. However, while the status of bathhouse slaves may have been slightly higher than that of slaves in other sectors, the work they did was still physically demanding and often grueling. The bathhouse wasn't an easy place to work. Maintaining the heat, managing the crowds, and assisting bathers all required constant attention and care. For the slaves in these spaces, there was little room for personal enjoyment. Their lives and their labor were entirely subordinated to the needs of their masters and the demands of Roman society. Interestingly, there's also an element of Roman culture that complicates the image of the bathhouse as a purely luxurious space. The moral implications of bathing itself. Some Roman philosophers, like Seneca, criticized the indulgence of excessive bathing, viewing it as a sign of moral decadence. For them, the relaxation of the bathhouse, with its pampering massages and leisurely pace, represented the self-indulgent behavior of the Roman elite. They argued that the act of bathing should be practical, just a necessary hygiene ritual, rather than a form of overindulgence. However, this perspective was not widely shared. For most Romans, the bathhouse was not just about cleanliness, it was a social and cultural institution that symbolized Roman civilization and the height of luxury. Looking at the slave's role in the bathhouse, it's clear that the thermi were a microcosm of Roman society, luxurious for some, essential for others, and riddled with complex social dynamics. It's fascinating that such a space designed for relaxation, luxury, and socialization was also one of the greatest expressions of inequality and forced labor in Roman life. Slaves made the luxury of the bathhouse possible, and yet they never got to partake in its benefits. The next time you think of the Romans relaxing in their grand bathhouses, remember the hidden workers, the slaves, who were the backbone of this cultural institution, quietly toiling away to create an environment of luxury that many never got to enjoy themselves. Now that we've seen how essential slaves were to the operation of Roman bathhouses, let's look at the broader political and social significance of baths. While bathing may have appeared to be a private or leisurely activity, it played a much larger role in the lives of Romans, influencing everything from political power to social stratification. Bathhouses weren't just places for cleaning up. They were crucial centers of power, influence, and public life. A bathhouse was as much a political and cultural institution as it was a place of personal hygiene. Let's explore how Roman baths were intertwined with the empire's politics, the role they played in shaping Roman identity, and their status as symbols of Roman civilization. Roman emperors and politicians understood the immense power of the bathhouse. The bathhouses were not only places for personal relaxation, but also for displaying wealth, power, and status. In many ways, they were designed to reinforce social hierarchies. Think about the Grand Thermae in Rome, sprawling, ornate, and built to impress. These public bathhouses were often commissioned by wealthy patrons, including emperors themselves, who used them as a way to display their generosity and reinforce their power. The creation of bathhouses was an act of public patronage, and the emperors understood that it was not just about public health. It was about cementing their authority over the people. Bathhouses allowed emperors to present themselves as benevolent rulers, offering the comforts of health and relaxation to the masses. Take, for example, the monumental bathhouses built by emperors like Caracalla and Diocletian. These massive complexes were designed to outshine anything that had come before, not just in their function, but in their grandeur. The sheer scale of the thermae of Caracalla, which could accommodate up to 1,600 bathers, was a demonstration of imperial power. The opulent design, the intricate mosaics, and the vastness of these bathhouses served as a statement of imperial supremacy. But it wasn't just the size that mattered. It was the accessibility. These baths were built for the people, providing an opportunity for every Roman citizen, regardless of class, to experience a taste of imperial luxury. In that sense, these baths were a symbol of the emperor's ability to provide for the people while simultaneously solidifying his image as a leader who cared for the welfare of the masses. In Roman culture, public baths served as a political tool. Bathhouses became central meeting places for senators, military leaders, and citizens, often used for more than just bathing. Important political conversations, negotiations, and deals were made within the walls of the thermae. Senators could discuss matters of state, soldiers could exchange news, and citizens could voice their concerns, all while soaking in warm waters or resting in heated rooms. Bathhouses were ideal places for political maneuvering because they provided a relaxed, informal environment free from the formalities of the Senate or the rigid structure of government meetings. The social interactions that occurred in these spaces were crucial for maintaining the smooth functioning of Roman politics. Moreover, bathhouses were used as a form of social control. By providing the populace with free access to public baths, emperors were able to ensure that citizens had one more avenue for leisure, socializing, and relaxation. It helped in keeping the masses content and, by extension, politically loyal. The provision of public goods, such as the thermae, was a way for the emperor to ensure that the people remained satisfied and distracted from the harsher realities of life. In this sense, bathhouses played a crucial role in maintaining public order, offering the Roman people a sense of well-being that could be relied upon as a counterbalance to the challenges of their daily lives. Bathhouses also functioned as spaces of Roman identity. The emphasis on public bathing was intrinsically tied to the Roman concept of civilization. In Roman ideology, cleanliness wasn't just about hygiene. It was about showing that you were part of a sophisticated, organized society. Romans prided themselves on their ability to create order out of chaos, and the bathhouse was a symbol of this accomplishment. The very act of building massive, well-constructed bathhouses was a declaration that Rome had achieved a level of refinement that surpassed all others. Bathing was a communal act that reinforced the unity of Roman citizens, reminding them of their shared Roman identity. This connection between bathing and identity also extended to imperial propaganda. Emperors would often commission grand bathhouses in public works as a way to symbolize their benevolence and secure their place in the public eye. But it wasn't just the emperors who recognized the importance of bathing in public life. Citizens also understood the social and cultural importance of the bathhouse. For a Roman, to bathe was to engage in a ritual that reinforced Roman values: cleanliness, order, and civic responsibility. Bathhouses allowed Roman citizens, from the lowest plebeians to the wealthiest patricians, to interact in a shared space, where social status was temporarily suspended. While Romans still recognized the distinctions between classes, the bathhouse offered a rare opportunity to commune as equals, however brief that equality might have been. There was also the practical element of health and public hygiene. For the Romans, keeping the population healthy was not just about the physical well-being of citizens, but also about managing the empire. Bathhouses served as places where Roman citizens could wash away not only the grime of their daily lives, but also the germs and disease that could spread through overcrowded urban areas. With large urban populations living in close quarters, Roman bathhouses offered a means of controlling disease by encouraging regular cleaning and bathing, making them an essential element of public health in ancient Rome. In some ways, the Roman approach to bathing as both a luxury and a necessity can be seen as a precursor to modern public health initiatives. The belief that cleanliness could contribute to overall well-being was something that carried over into later civilizations, including our own. And while our modern bathing rituals may not involve intricate systems of hypocausts or grand marble columns, we still understand the importance of maintaining a healthy, clean environment. But the Roman baths didn't just function as political or social institutions. The architectural brilliance of Roman baths, with their use of vaulted ceilings, mosaic floors, and grand design, also symbolized Roman achievement in engineering and aesthetics. The ability to create these structures was a source of Roman pride, reinforcing their identity as the creators of the most advanced civilization of the ancient world. The beauty of these structures was not just about luxury. It was about showing the world that the Romans could build something on a scale and grandeur never before seen. So, while we often think of the bathhouse as a place of relaxation and personal care, it was so much more in Roman society. It was a tool of politics, a space for social interaction, a symbol of Roman identity, and a mark of Roman engineering genius. The bathhouse was a microcosm of Roman life itself, a place where relaxation and power intersected, where class and politics blurred, and where civic identity was reinforced in the warm waters of the caldarium. Now that we've explored the grandeur and social dynamics of Roman baths, let's take a moment to discuss the decline of the Roman bath. How could such a significant cultural and social institution fade away? The Roman bathhouses, which were once vibrant centers of public life, began to decline as the empire went into its later years. As we look into the reasons for this decline, we'll see how political, economic, and even cultural shifts played a role in the fading of this once essential tradition. The first major factor in the decline of the Roman bath was the fall of the Western Roman Empire. By the 5th century, the Roman Empire was facing significant political instability, economic decline, and invasions from barbarian tribes. The collapse of central Roman authority had a profound effect on all aspects of Roman society, and bathhouses were no exception. As cities began to crumble under pressure, maintenance of public baths fell by the wayside. Bathhouses were costly to maintain, requiring large amounts of water and the expertise of skilled workers to keep the hypocausts functioning properly. In an empire under siege, such luxury was no longer a priority. With the fall of Rome in 476 AD, many of the public bathhouses were abandoned or repurposed for other uses. Without the empire's wealth and resources to support their maintenance, these once grand complexes fell into disrepair. The steady flow of water that had once fed the thermae was cut off, and the large heating systems stopped working. What were once magnificent public bathhouses became overgrown, neglected, and forgotten. Moreover, as the empire shifted toward a more Christianized society, the role of bathhouses began to change. Early Christianity had an ambivalent relationship with physical pleasure and the body, seeing it as something to be disciplined and controlled rather than indulged. Christian leaders who were gaining more influence in the empire began to view the bathhouses, particularly the social and luxurious aspects of bathing, with suspicion. The idea of public bathhouses, where the lines between class, intimacy, and indulgence blurred, didn't fit well with the early Christian ideals of modesty and piety. By the time Christianity had fully taken hold of the Roman world, the practice of bathing in such grand, public settings had lost its appeal. Public baths were increasingly seen as places of excess and moral decay, and the use of baths for socializing and indulgence was gradually replaced by more subdued forms of personal hygiene. Instead of the once vibrant bathhouses, smaller, more private bathing spaces became the norm. In some areas, the practice of bathing entirely diminished for a period as people turned away from the luxurious indulgences of their ancestors. But the decline wasn't only cultural, it was also economic. As the Western Roman Empire struggled with economic hardship, the financial resources needed to support the upkeep of the bathhouses simply weren't available. The lavish marble floors, the intricate mosaics, and the complex water systems required constant investment. When the empire's finances began to decline, so did the bathhouses. Without the resources to maintain these structures, many bathhouses were simply abandoned. Those that remained operational in the empire's later years often suffered from poor maintenance, and their once grand features fell into ruin. As the Roman Empire fractured and fragmented, the power and influence that had once funded such large-scale public works projects, including the bathhouses, began to erode. The government could no longer provide the support needed to sustain such ambitious infrastructures, and cities themselves shrank. With fewer people and fewer resources to manage them, Roman bathhouses fell into a state of disrepair. Some of the grand bathhouses were even stripped of their marble and precious materials, which were repurposed for other construction projects. On a more practical level, the fall of the Roman bathhouses also had to do with changing ideas of cleanliness and hygiene. While bathing had once been seen as essential for both health and social reasons, the practice fell out of favor for various reasons. In the early Middle Ages, people turned to alternative ways of staying clean, relying more on personal washing and smaller, less luxurious bathing spaces. With the decline of the great public bathhouses, people began to bathe at home in private settings or small local facilities. Bathing rituals, though still important, had become more private and less communal, reflecting the more individualistic nature of society during the post-Roman period. It wasn't just the Roman Empire that saw a decline in bathing. This trend extended to many parts of Europe. The idea of public bathing as a communal activity didn't fully return until the 19th century, with the advent of the public bathhouses and spas that we recognize today. In the meantime, for several centuries, the Grand Roman Thermae lay in ruins, and bathing, once a symbol of civilization, became more modest and less socially significant. But this decline wasn't total. While the grand bathhouses of the Roman Empire may have disappeared, the legacy of Roman bathing remained. In the Byzantine Empire, which was the continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire, many public baths continued to operate. Some of the architectural and engineering feats of Roman bathhouses were preserved and even incorporated into new constructions, like the famous bathhouses of Constantinople. In fact, the Byzantine baths influenced the later design of Turkish bathhouses, or hammams, which continue to this day. Additionally, while large public baths fell out of use in the West, the legacy of the Roman approach to personal care and public health would be revived in the Renaissance and later eras. The notion that bathing was not just about hygiene, but also about health, socializing, and luxury would re-emerge as part of the Renaissance humanist ideal, leading to the modern spas and wellness culture we know today. Even today, we can trace the idea of the Roman bathhouse in our own world. Modern spas, wellness centers, and even public swimming pools all owe a debt to the great bathhouses of Rome. The emphasis on relaxation, mental well-being, and communal spaces for rejuvenation continues to resonate in our modern self-care practices. The Romans may have abandoned their public baths, but their legacy has lived on in the spaces we create to care for our bodies and minds. The decline of the Roman bath represents not just the fall of an institution, but the inevitable changes that come with the passage of time. A society evolves, and with it, its cultural practices change. However, just as we've seen with the revival of spas and wellness centers, certain practices endure across generations. Perhaps the Roman bath's true legacy is in the way it influenced our ongoing efforts to create spaces of relaxation, healing, and community, ensuring that the art of unwinding and reconnecting with our bodies never truly disappears. As we witness the slow decline of the Roman bath, there's something particularly poignant about how these centers of luxury and health eventually gave way to simpler bathing practices. The grandeur of the Roman Thermae, with their marble columns, heated floors, and vast pools, stands in stark contrast to the more humble bathing routines that came in the centuries following the fall of Rome. But despite their collapse, the spirit of Roman bathing, the blending of physical relaxation, mental peace, and social interaction, never truly disappeared. Instead, it simply evolved, adapting to new cultural, political, and economic realities. In the medieval period, bathing became less of a communal, social activity and more of a private one. The public baths that had once been bustling centers of Roman life were often abandoned or repurposed, and people began to bathe in smaller, more private spaces. However, this shift wasn't solely a result of the fall of Rome. It was also tied to broader cultural and religious shifts that took place after the rise of Christianity. Early Christianity, with its emphasis on asceticism and modesty, discouraged the indulgence associated with Roman bathing culture. The idea of public bathing became less desirable, with some early Christian leaders associating the practice with immorality and excess. Interestingly, in medieval Europe, there was a decline in both the frequency and the public nature of bathing. The rise of the Christian church and its changing view of the body led to a sense that excessive bathing might be sinful. At times, bathing was even discouraged or seen as a vice. People began to focus more on private hygiene, washing their hands and faces rather than engaging in the elaborate rituals of Roman bathhouses. The very idea of communal bathing began to seem foreign to medieval sensibilities, and bathhouses fell out of favor. However, despite the Christian Church's skepticism toward public bathing, the practice didn't disappear entirely. In some parts of Europe, bathing persisted in private homes and in smaller, less lavish settings. In the Islamic world, the tradition of public baths remained strong throughout the Middle Ages. The hammam became a symbol of cleanliness and social interaction in many Islamic cultures, offering the same kind of communal and physical experience that the Roman baths had once provided. These bathhouses were not only places of hygiene, but also social hubs where people could relax, connect, and unwind. In the East, Roman bathing traditions survived through the Byzantine Empire, where public baths continued to be a feature of daily life. In fact, the Byzantine emperors continued the Roman tradition of building large, grand bathhouses. The Byzantine bathhouse was a continuation of Roman principles, combining relaxation, public interaction, and ritualistic cleansing. Some of these Byzantine bathhouses even incorporated elements of Roman bath designs, such as the hypocaust system for heating water. In the West, it wasn't until the Renaissance that the idea of bathing as a luxury and health practice began to resurface. During the Renaissance, there was a renewed interest in classical antiquity, and with it, a rediscovery of the Roman way of life. People began to take a greater interest in self-care, hygiene, and the therapeutic properties of water. As the Renaissance ushered in new philosophies and ideas about the body, bathing was once again seen as a vital practice for maintaining both physical health and mental well-being. During this time, spas and bathhouses began to reopen across Europe, but this time with a modern twist. The spa culture that emerged in the Renaissance reflected many of the same values that the Romans had cherished. Bathing wasn't just about cleanliness. It was about taking care of the body, fostering social connections, and achieving relaxation and balance. Renaissance spas often featured hot springs, massages, and luxurious surroundings, combining physical health with mental refreshment. This return to bathing as a form of both personal indulgence and community ritual was a direct inheritance from the Roman thermae, with a modern emphasis on wellness and luxury. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the idea of the bathhouse or spa had evolved into a more refined and specialized practice. It became tied not only to relaxation, but also to medical treatments. Spas in places like Bath, England, and Bad Ems, Germany, became famous as centers for therapeutic bathing, where people traveled to take the waters and treat ailments such as arthritis, digestive problems, and skin conditions. The idea that water had therapeutic properties became a central tenet of these modern spas, just as it had been in ancient Rome. Even in the early 20th century, the notion of bathing continued to evolve, with modern spas focusing more on beauty, wellness, and relaxation. The Roman ideal of a communal bath experience has largely been replaced by private spas, but the essence of what the Romans established remains. Today, when we visit a spa for a massage or a hot tub soak, we are tapping into that same ancient understanding of how water, heat, and relaxation work together to soothe both the body and the mind. So, what can we take from the Roman bathhouse today? Well, it's not just about the luxury or the engineering feats of the past. More importantly, it's about the rituals and routines that we've inherited from the Romans. The act of bathing is still very much a part of our lives, whether in private at home, at a wellness center, or in the communal spaces of modern spas. Just like the Romans, we are constantly seeking spaces where we can unwind, relax, and reset. The ancient Roman bathhouses were about balance between the body and the mind, between relaxation and socialization, between the individual and the community. This sense of balance, which the Romans carefully crafted in their bathhouses, is something we can still strive for today. in our modern lives filled with stress and distractions. Perhaps the most enduring legacy of Roman bathing culture isn't the grand marble halls or the intricate heating systems. Instead, it's the understanding that rest, relaxation, and self-care are essential components of well-being. In a world that moves at a frantic pace, the lessons of the Roman bath remind us that we need to take time to pause, rejuvenate, and care for ourselves, both physically and mentally. So, the next time you slip into a warm bath or step into a spa, think back to those grand Roman thermi. And remember that you're participating in an ancient tradition that has lasted for millennia. As we continue our journey through the history of Roman baths, let's explore the legacy of the Roman bathhouse on modern spa culture. Even though the physical thermi that the Romans built have long since faded, their cultural significance has endured, influencing the way we view rest, relaxation, and wellness today. Modern spas, wellness centers, and even the simple act of taking a bath owe much to Roman traditions. In this section, we'll see how the Roman bathhouse laid the foundation for contemporary wellness practices and how the Roman obsession with a perfect bath has shaped our approach to relaxation. Imagine stepping into a modern spa. You're greeted by soft lighting, the calming sound of water, and the comforting aroma of essential oils. You're offered a warm towel and led to a serene space designed to help you unwind and relax. What you're experiencing, in many ways, is the modern evolution of the Roman bathhouse. Though the scale and grandeur may have diminished, the core principles of relaxation, self-care, and social interaction remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome. The first connection between Roman baths and modern spas is the ritual. Just as the Romans had a carefully structured bathing routine that included different temperature zones, massages, and oils, modern spas also emphasize a series of therapeutic rituals designed to provide physical and mental rejuvenation. The idea of moving between rooms of different temperatures, much like the Roman caldarium, tepidarium, and frigidarium, has evolved into modern hydrotherapy practices. Many spas offer experiences that mimic this cycle of warmth and cold, with treatments such as hot tubs, steam rooms, saunas, and cold plunge pools. This temperature-based therapy is rooted directly in Roman bathing practices, where heat was used to relax the muscles and promote circulation, while cold water stimulated the body and invigorated the senses. Similarly, the use of essential oils and fragrances is another Roman influence that persists in modern spas. In the Roman baths, oils were used for both cleansing and moisturizing the skin, while the soothing scents of perfumes and aromatic oils filled the air, creating a relaxing environment. Today, aromatherapy is a key component of many spa experiences, with lavender, eucalyptus, and citrus scents being used to enhance relaxation, relieve stress, and even improve sleep. This connection between the therapeutic power of scent and the bathhouse experience remains a vital part of modern wellness culture. Furthermore, Roman bathhouses were places of social interaction, where people from all walks of life would meet and connect. The communal aspect of bathing wasn't just about cleanliness. It was about building relationships, networking, and enjoying shared moments of relaxation. Modern spas, while generally more private, still encourage moments of social interaction. Some spas even offer communal areas or group treatments where people can experience relaxation together, maintaining that ancient tradition of sharing space and creating bonds while enjoying therapeutic services. Another legacy of Roman baths in today's wellness practices is the importance of rest and recovery. The Romans understood that bathing wasn't just for hygiene. It was a means of restoring the body and mind. After a long day of work or battle, Romans would head to the bathhouse to recover physically, clear their minds, and prepare for rest. Today, rest and recovery are still central to wellness practices, with modern spas offering services such as massages, body wraps, and hydrotherapy designed to help clients recover from the physical stresses of daily life. The luxury associated with Roman baths has also evolved into the modern spa experience. Just as the Romans created bathhouses that were architectural marvels of their time, modern spas have become places of indulgence and self-care. High-end spas today offer lavish treatments and serene environments designed to promote relaxation and enhance the feeling of well-being. The lavishness of Roman baths, with their marble floors, intricate mosaics, and vast pools, has been translated into the luxurious finishes of modern spas, soft towels, plush robes, and indulgent beauty treatments. While the architecture may have shifted from grand public bathhouses to boutique wellness centers, the essence of indulgence and personal care remains. Of course, the idea of using baths for health purposes is another key connection between Roman bathing culture and modern spa practices. The Romans saw bathing not only as a means of socializing, but also as a way to maintain good health. They believed that bathing helped with circulation, detoxification, and muscle recovery. Today, many of the same health benefits are promoted in modern spas. The practice of hydrotherapy, using water for therapeutic purposes, has its roots in Roman bathing. Whether it's through hot tubs, cold plunge pools, or steam rooms, modern spas emphasize the healing properties of water to soothe sore muscles, ease tension, and detoxify the body. Interestingly, some modern spa treatments are direct descendants of Roman practices. The use of scrubs, whether they be salt scrubs or sugar scrubs, reminds us of the Roman use of the strigil, a tool used to scrape sweat and dirt from the skin. The idea behind both practices is the same: to exfoliate and refresh the skin, while enhancing the body's natural cleansing processes. Modern spas also offer massage therapy, which mirrors the massage-like rituals that were common in Roman baths, designed to soothe muscles and promote relaxation. Beyond the physical and social aspects, the Roman bath was also about creating an environment for mental relaxation. The ancient bathhouses were places where people could escape the stresses of everyday life, relax, and clear their minds. Today, this focus on mental relaxation remains a cornerstone of spa culture. Modern spas are designed to be sanctuaries where the pressures of daily life are left behind, and the mind can rest. The use of tranquil music, soft lighting, and quiet spaces in modern spas mirrors the peaceful atmosphere of the Roman baths, which allowed people to disconnect from the chaos of the outside world and focus on themselves. In many ways, the Roman bathhouse helped establish the fundamental principles of wellness that we continue to embrace today. The combination of physical relaxation, mental clarity, social connection, and self-care practices remains the foundation of modern spa culture. The Romans understood that a healthy body required more than just exercise and food. It required a system of rituals and practices that nurtured the body and mind together. Modern spas have taken this ancient wisdom and applied it to contemporary life, reminding us that relaxation is a crucial part of maintaining health and well-being. So, as you enjoy your next trip to the spa, whether it's for a massage, a soak in a hot tub, or a simple moment of stillness, remember the Roman bathhouse and the rituals it inspired. The legacy of Roman bathing continues to shape our approach to wellness today, showing us that the ancient practices of rest, rejuvenation, and self-care are as vital now as they were over 2,000 years ago. Having explored the rich legacy of Roman baths and their continued influence on modern spa culture, let's now turn our attention to the global impact of Roman bathing practices. While the Roman bathhouse itself may have been a uniquely Roman institution, the ideas behind it, relating to public hygiene, relaxation, and the therapeutic use of water, spread far beyond the borders of the empire. As Rome expanded, so too did the practice of communal bathing, influencing a variety of cultures across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. The way the Romans integrated bathing into their daily lives and public infrastructure didn't just stay in the empire. It became part of a global legacy that touched many other civilizations, shaping bathing traditions for centuries to come. One of the most direct continuations of Roman bath culture occurred in the Byzantine Empire. As the eastern half of the Roman Empire persisted after the fall of the West, its bathhouses carried on many of the traditions of the Roman thermae. Byzantine bathhouses, especially in cities like Constantinople, were built on the same principles as Roman baths: elaborate, heated spaces for relaxation, socializing, and cleansing. These baths were not just places for hygiene. They were central to the culture of the Byzantine elite, and also accessible to the general public. They featured much of the same intricate design, including vaulted ceilings, large open spaces, and flowing water systems powered by the same kinds of heating mechanisms as the Romans had employed. These Byzantine bathhouses were not only a way of continuing Roman traditions, but also a means of reinforcing the connection between public health and imperial authority. Emperors and rulers continued to use public works, like bathhouses, as a way to demonstrate their power and influence, much like the Romans had done. Through these practices, the Byzantines preserved the Roman legacy of communal bathing, passing it down to later generations. Even today, the architecture and rituals of Byzantine bathhouses influence the design of modern spas, particularly in the Middle East, where the concept of the hammam, or Turkish bath, evolved from Byzantine traditions. The Ottoman Empire also inherited this Roman legacy, and its influence can still be seen in the luxurious hammams of Istanbul and beyond. The Ottoman hammams, much like Roman bathhouses, were elaborate communal spaces where people went not just to bathe, but to socialize, relax, and purify themselves. Hammams were an essential part of Ottoman life, serving as centers of community interaction. And just like the Romans, the Ottomans believed in the therapeutic value of bathing. This connection between public bathing and social cohesion, where relaxation and community life intersect, is a direct line back to the Roman thermae. In fact, the design of Ottoman hammams still includes elements of Roman baths, such as the cooling pools, hot rooms, and intricate tile work. The Ottoman approach to bathing was a modernized continuation of the Roman ideals, emphasizing not just hygiene, but also wellness and relaxation. But it wasn't just the Middle East and Eastern Europe that felt the influence of Roman bathing. Western Europe, particularly in the Renaissance, began to embrace Roman-inspired bathing rituals once again. After centuries of neglecting public baths, Renaissance Europe saw a resurgence in the appreciation of Roman hygiene practices, fueled by a renewed interest in all things classical. Cities across Europe, from Paris to London, began building public baths that mimicked the grand structures of Roman thermae. These Renaissance-era baths weren't just about hygiene. They became places of social gathering, much like their Roman predecessors. The same emphasis on relaxation, health, and even intellectual conversation in bathhouse returned in full force, marking a revival of Roman bath traditions. In France, the bath culture took on its own distinctive form, combining Roman influences with local traditions. The development of the French spa culture, particularly in places like Vichy and Contrexeville, reflected a blend of Roman bathing rituals and medieval European practices. These spas became renowned for their mineral waters, and the practice of taking the waters for therapeutic purposes was directly inspired by the Roman bathhouse's use of water for health benefits. France's spa culture, which remains central to French wellness today, is deeply rooted in the Roman practice of integrating relaxation with health. Roman bathing practices didn't just influence Europe and the Middle East. In Japan, the concept of communal bathing became a central part of the culture, although it took on a distinctly Japanese flavor. The tradition of onsen hot springs and Sento public bathhouse in Japan can be traced back to the communal bathing practices of the ancient world. The Japanese version of communal bathing is different in structure, but shares many similarities with Roman baths, including the focus on water's therapeutic properties and its role in socializing and relaxation. Onsen, for example, are often built in scenic locations, and they are places where people go not only to cleanse the body, but also to relax and find peace of mind, just as the Romans did when they visited their bathhouses. Roman bathing practices were so influential that they even had an impact on North Africa. During the height of the Roman Empire, the vast provinces of Africa were home to many grand bathhouses. In cities like Carthage, Roman-style baths were integrated into the culture of local elites, and the influence of Roman architecture and engineering was seen in the design of public bathhouses. As these traditions spread, they fused with local customs and contributed to the evolution of public bathing in the region. It's incredible to think about the breadth of Roman bathing culture's global impact. Though the empire fell, the traditions that the Romans cultivated through their bathhouses, bathing as a communal and therapeutic experience, have traveled through history, influencing cultures and societies across the world. From the Middle East to Europe to Japan, the idea of communal bathing has remained a vital practice. What was once an act of personal hygiene in the Roman Empire has transformed over centuries into a global wellness phenomenon that touches every corner of the world. Today, when we visit a modern spa or wellness center, we are tapping into a practice that has its roots in the very foundations of Roman society. Just as the Romans took time out of their busy lives to restore themselves through baths, so too do we in our own time. We now see wellness as a multifaceted experience, combining physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And this approach owes much to the foundational principles established in the Roman bathhouse. The global journey of Roman bathing culture is a testament to the enduring appeal of relaxation and self-care, showing how deeply embedded these practices are in human civilization. From the grand thermae to the most modern wellness spas, the core of Roman bathing traditions, socialization, relaxation, rejuvenation, continues to shape how we care for our bodies and minds today. So, the next time you step into a hot tub or visit a wellness center, remember that you are engaging in an ancient tradition that has shaped cultures across the globe. As we near the end of our journey through the history of Roman baths, we begin to understand that the decline of the bathhouse wasn't simply a result of the fall of an empire. It was part of a larger shift in how civilizations understood rest, self-care, and the body. The Roman bathhouse may have faded from everyday life, but its concepts of relaxation, health, and community lived on, continuing to influence cultures and societies across the world. The Roman bathhouse embodied a sophisticated approach to wellness, an approach that emphasized balance, routine, and the importance of caring for both the body and the mind. But even in the modern world, we're beginning to understand that wellness, whether physical, mental, or social, is essential for a healthy and fulfilling life. The health benefits of bathing, as the Romans understood, aren't just about cleanliness. The ancient Romans believed that a hot bath could do wonders for the body. The heat opened pores, promoted circulation, and allowed for the removal of toxins, processes that we now understand have numerous health benefits. Today, with the rise of wellness and holistic health practices, we've started to rediscover the connection between the mind and body that the Romans understood so well. Modern hydrotherapy, for instance, mirrors the healing properties of water and heat used by the Romans, though now with a more scientific understanding of their effects. But it wasn't just the physical benefits that the Romans valued in their bathing practices. Bathhouses were first and foremost spaces for mental rejuvenation. In the fast-paced, often stressful world of the ancient Roman citizen, the bathhouse was an escape, an opportunity to step away from the demands of everyday life and restore a sense of calm. Whether through the soothing effects of warm water, the social interactions with fellow citizens, or the rhythmic rituals of the bath, the experience of bathing was designed to reset the mind, much like modern forms of self-care today. The concept of restoration, however, goes beyond just individual health. The Roman bathhouse was also a place of social connection. Think back to the bustling public baths, where people gathered not just to cleanse, but to engage in conversation, debate, and relaxation. The bathhouses served as a microcosm of Roman society, a space where the elite and commoners alike could socialize, network, and forge relationships. This communal aspect of bathing wasn't just about hygiene. It was a part of the larger social fabric that held Roman society together. The bathhouse was a symbol of unity, reminding citizens that despite their social status, they shared a common space where they could relax, exchange ideas, and momentarily leave behind the burdens of class. This communal aspect is something that is carried forward into modern spas and wellness centers. Today, while the physical bathhouses of Rome no longer exist, we still value places of rest and relaxation where people can unwind and connect. The communal nature of spas in some cultures, whether it's through communal steam rooms or shared relaxation spaces, harks back to the Roman idea of connecting with others in a space dedicated to self-care. Modern wellness centers, though often more private, still carry the essence of Roman bathhouse by promoting a sense of belonging and social engagement, even if it's in a more tranquil, quiet environment. There is also something deeply therapeutic about the rituals of bathing that the Romans established. Much like today, where wellness is often marketed as a way to reduce stress and improve mental clarity, the Romans understood that taking time to care for the body could create a calm and peaceful mind. Their emphasis on alternating heat and cold, whether in the form of saunas or cold plunges, wasn't just a luxury. It was a method for helping the body recover from physical exertion and to prepare it for the restorative rest that followed. In modern wellness practices, we have adopted these ideas with hydrotherapy and contrast baths, using heat and cold to improve circulation and reduce muscle tension. But what truly makes the Roman bathhouse stand out in the long history of wellness is its understanding of rituals and routines. Just as we have routines for maintaining our physical health, exercise, eating well, sleeping well, the Romans had a bathing routine that was embedded into their culture. A day in the life of a Roman often involved a trip to the bathhouse, which was as much a part of the daily ritual as eating or working. This idea of embedding self-care into our routines is one that has been rediscovered in modern wellness culture. We now see the value in incorporating daily rituals, whether it's meditation, yoga, or a relaxing bath, into our busy lives to help us maintain balance. In a world increasingly driven by technology and productivity, there's a growing recognition that we need to slow down and take care of ourselves. The self-care movement that's become so popular in recent years echoes the ancient practices of the Romans, who understood that relaxation and personal care were as vital to health as any physical regimen. Just as the Romans carefully constructed their bathhouses to help the body and mind find harmony, we are now designing our lives to create spaces of rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. Whether through modern spas, wellness centers, or simply taking time for a warm bath at home. The ritual of bathing, which the Romans perfected, has proven to be one of the most enduring aspects of human civilization. It's not just about cleansing the body. It's about resetting, rejuvenating, and restoring balance in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming. The Roman bathhouse, with its emphasis on ritual, social connection, and physical restoration, has left an indelible mark on the way we view self-care today. Whether we are soaking in a modern hot tub or unwinding in a wellness retreat, we are tapping into a tradition that has been part of human culture for thousands of years. Ultimately, the legacy of the Roman bathhouse is much more than the marble columns or the impressive engineering feats. It's the recognition that relaxation, health, and community are all part of the same process. By taking care of our bodies, we take care of our minds. By connecting with others in spaces of rest, we build stronger communities. And by embracing the rituals of self-care, we allow ourselves to achieve the balance and peace necessary to thrive. The Romans may have built their bathhouses long ago, but their understanding of wellness continues to inspire us today. As we conclude our journey through the history of Roman baths and their profound influence on modern culture, it's time to reflect on the lasting impact of Roman bathing traditions. Despite the decline of the great bathhouses and the changes in societal practices, the core principles that the Romans embraced in their bathing culture continue to resonate in the way we approach wellness today. These principles, balance, ritual, community, and restoration, have survived through the centuries, shaping our modern ideas of relaxation, self-care, and public health. The Roman bathhouse wasn't just a luxury, it was a cornerstone of Roman daily life. It embodied the Roman belief in the importance of maintaining both physical health and mental well-being through careful attention to relaxation and routine. The Roman bathhouse was a symbol of civilization, a place where people could come together, wash away the burdens of the day, and leave feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready for the next challenge. This holistic approach to health, which combined physical cleansing, mental relaxation, and social interaction, has echoed down through history and continues to influence our modern practices of self-care. In many ways, the resurgence of interest in wellness and spa culture in the 21st century is a modern reinvention of the Roman bathhouse. Today's spas, saunas, and wellness centers continue the traditions of relaxation, rejuvenation, and community that the Romans established thousands of years ago. The focus on rituals, whether it's a visit to the sauna, a hot tub soak, or a soothing massage, is rooted in the same principles that guided Roman bathing. And while modern technology has changed the way we experience these rituals, the underlying need for balance, relaxation, and care remains the same. Roman baths also continue to influence the design of modern wellness spaces. The open-plan spaces, the use of natural materials like stone and marble, and the integration of water as a central element, All of these aspects are modern echoes of Roman architecture. Today's wellness centers still embrace the concept of flowing water, the therapeutic properties of heat and cold, and the calming effects of water features, just as the Romans did in their grand bathhouses. Even the way we think about the social aspects of wellness spaces today, whether it's a communal hot spring in Japan or a group yoga session, reflects the Roman understanding that health is not just an individual pursuit, but also a communal one. The Roman bathhouse served as a space where people could connect with one another while also caring for their bodies. Modern spas have revived this idea, often offering spaces where people can relax together, unwind, and share experiences. The notion of mental health as an integral part of wellness, which we see today in wellness centers, meditation practices, and spa therapies, is deeply rooted in Roman thinking. The Romans understood the importance of creating an environment where people could reset both their bodies and minds. Their baths were places of escape, where the pressures of daily life could be momentarily forgotten. This understanding of the mind-body connection is something we are only now fully rediscovering in our modern world, where stress, anxiety, and mental fatigue are becoming ever more prevalent. The Roman bathhouse, in its emphasis on relaxation and mental rejuvenation, offers a timeless model for how we can create spaces of peace and calm in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming. As we reflect on the Roman legacy, we can also draw parallels to self-care practices that have become more prominent in the 21st century. The idea of taking time to care for yourself, to slow down and rest, has gained significant importance as more people are seeking balance in their lives. The fast pace of modern life, with its constant demands and pressures, has made the pursuit of wellness more critical than ever. People are now investing more in practices that nurture their physical and mental health, whether through yoga, meditation, fitness, or spa visits, recognizing the importance of rest and relaxation as vital components of a healthy lifestyle. The resurgence of luxury wellness experiences in modern times is also a clear descendant of Roman bath culture. The concept of treating oneself to a luxurious spa day, indulging in soothing massages, and enjoying therapeutic treatments is a practice that the Romans themselves cherished. While the Romans may have indulged in bathhouse experiences as a part of daily life, today we often view such indulgence as a form of escapism, a way to recharge and refresh before returning to the demands of everyday life. The tradition of investing in one's health through leisure, relaxation, and self-care, which the Romans pioneered, has become an essential part of our modern lifestyle, especially in an age where wellness is increasingly recognized as a cornerstone of personal success and well-being. But perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn from the Roman bathhouse is the importance of routine. Just as the Romans built bathing into their daily lives, incorporating ritual and relaxation into our own schedules is vital for maintaining balance. We now know that making time for relaxation, whether it's a simple bath, a walk in nature, or a visit to the spa, is crucial for both physical and mental health. The Romans were keenly aware of the need to maintain a balance between work, social life, and personal care. In the same way, we need to prioritize moments of rest and rejuvenation in our own lives to maintain health, focus, and happiness. Ultimately, the Roman bathhouse reminds us that self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is an essential practice for nurturing our bodies, clearing our minds, and fostering a sense of community and well-being. Whether through ancient rituals of soaking in warm water or modern wellness routines, the act of taking time to care for ourselves has been an enduring human practice. The Roman bathhouse may have disappeared, but its legacy lives on in our modern wellness rituals, showing us that the balance between body, mind, and community remains as important today as it was in ancient Rome. So, the next time you take a bath, visit a spa, or simply take a moment to unwind, remember the ancient Romans who helped shape this timeless tradition of rest, relaxation, and self-care. Their baths were not just about hygiene. They were about wellness, about balance, and about finding peace in a busy, demanding world. And just like the Romans, we can continue to build spaces in our own lives where relaxation, rejuvenation, and health thrive together.